Hi, my name is Sarah Foster, and this is my video commentary for the final project of Journalism 215, which is a multimedia reporting and editing class. So for my final project, I was supposed to create a website. And with that website, I was supposed to look at a variety of different angles and use up to 4 different multimedia elements to tell that story. I ended up creating my website on Adobe Muse, which was really fun for me. Um, and then I looked at different angles throughout my topic. My topic is concerning poverty, but not just poverty in the sense of the nation. It was actually poverty in rural communities. And I chose to do poverty in rural communities because I feel like it's an angle that isn't necessarily thought of a lot. When I first heard of poverty, I thought of, walking through the streets of Chicago and seeing the homeless on the sidewalks, um, walking down Green Street, seeing panhandling. But when I thought of poverty in the rural community, it was just something that I hadn't necessarily noticed. And so to find that area of rural poverty that I chose to tell my story, I started digging into the U.S. Census Bureau's data and statistics, and I discovered that Coles County actually has one of the highest, if not the highest, poverty rate in East Central Illinois. And it's really challenging for Coles County to have a poverty rate that is this high because it doesn't have the types of infrastructure that larger communities have to repair itself, like Champaign County, for instance. And when I started reporting about this topic, I chose to dig into different angles. And so these different angles for my first part of the story were about, just these people have lived here day in, day out, generations after generations, and yet this whole instance has been occurring, and no one noticed that there was poverty in this community until Dr. Michael Gillespie came. And he is a sociologist, now a professor from Detroit. And so he moved into the area of Coles County for a job at Eastern Illinois University. And he said he discovered poverty in Coles County by accident. So it's just talking a little bit about his discovery on how this community is so impoverished, and then it's looking at how it's affecting a specific community, which I chose Mattoon. I chose Mattoon because it has PADS, which is Public Action to Deliver Shelter. And it's like this homeless shelter that has been under some controversial topics within the past few years after I was doing some research. So it also has a school that is highly impoverished. At one of the elementary schools, 70% of its kids are enrolled in the free and reduced lunch program. So I talked to a principal at the school district. I talked to one of the curriculum directors to get some information more about the free and reduced lunch enrollment. So, and then I also, when I went to PADS to learn more about how the facility operates, I got to talk to a homeless man, and he shared a powerful story about dealing with addiction and alcoholism. And later, I chose to end the story with, what are people doing about this? I thought that this would be more of an uplifting way to end the story. So it's about this organization called Fit to Serve, which acts as a hub for other services and opportunities in the community to improve. So there's one woman who's from the Salvation Army in Champaign. She comes down to Mattoon's Fit to Serve to see if there are any homeless veterans that she can help house. There's also a woman from the local hospital in Mattoon in Charleston called Sarah Bush Lincoln Hospital, and she comes on from a federal grant through the Affordable Care Act to help enroll people in health insurance. And so I talked a little bit about that and what's going on and what people are doing about it, but overall, I think the main theme of the story is about real poverty and a community's quest to avoid addressing that, but also address it at the same time. When I was doing my research for this final project, I really discovered that the community was hesitant to accept these numbers as real. And there's just this push and pull between people who are wanting to help the homeless and this push back from people who think that the homeless shelter, for instance, is bringing the homeless there. And I thought this was this really interesting story, so I decided to frame it that way. But on this website that I've created, it's a little bit different. It's using the more up-and-coming journalism techniques, kind of like the New York Times, the interactive storytelling. Although it's not as advanced as some of the things the New York Times does, it was inspired by the story A Game of Shark and Minnow. And it starts out with a parallax scroll, and a video opens it up, kind of like A Game of Shark and Minnow. As you scroll down, instead of making all of these separate elements, like the graphics that are displaying how many people are in poverty in the area versus the country, instead of putting those all separate, I integrated them all together, designed the layout, kind of coded minimally, and just basically dipped my hands in web development, which is a really important part, I think, as journalists, to kind of be a one-man band. And so that's a little introduction about my video editing. This is a little introduction about my final project through my video commentary. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the piece.